When you get your new XRF analyzer, let's just go through what's in the box. First of all, you should have your XRF. You should have a box of polypropylene film, and you can simply remove it from the plastic cover here and load it into this dispenser unit. That's for general and replacement of your window. You get 2 batteries. If you've chosen to get a stand for the XRF, this is the base unit, and the base unit just folds out like that. This is the top part of the unit. That will go over the nose of the XRF, and this is to prevent it from pulling apart. And then you've got your lid. The lid, the test stand is optional. To have an external micro SD card, which you can use inside the XRF for additional storage. You'll have a stylus pen. You'll have a iCal plate. The manufacturer recommends that when you do the iCal, you do it face down on this plate. A USB A to C cable for connection to your computer. A spare faceplate attachment. A spare dispenser. Tape and dispenser. This is 55 micron self-adhesive tape that you can use over the top of the polypropylene film, and that's for analysis of quite sharp objects where you don't want to have to worry about the film being perforated and damage to the XRF. Of course, if you use this, you will lose your light elements, and when you've loaded it, it'll just be like a sellotape dispenser. A recharge dock for your battery. Instrument comes with 2 AC adapters. One is for the dock, the recharge dock. That's the smaller one. The larger AC adapter is for charging inside the handle of the XRF. So you can put one battery in the handle and plug this into mains power. Connect that via this docking component here, and you can recharge a battery in the handle. And then of course your Australian power cord. Inside the lid of the XRF is your manual, and also a data stick, USB flash drive that has all the software information, manuals, and some training information from me, and then some other documentation, quick start guides, etc. from the manufacturer, and they stay in here. Here I have the xSORT4, and I'll just take you through some of the features on the outside. So first of all, we have the rubber flange. This is a tungsten rubber flange. It's a radiation safety flange, and it's interlocked to the XRF. If you take it off, or if it's not in place properly, the power bar here, the LED bar here, will go from green, which means ready to test, to sort of a white blue, which means it's not ready. You can remove this flange, and you can see it's got on here some indicators to help you align it, but essentially to remove it, all you do is peel from the top first, so just flex it out and lift it off, and that can be removed when you want to change the film on here. And to change the film on this front faceplate, all you need to do is to lift off the faceplate. It just clips in place. The film just sits on the inside here, and you can get a new section of film from your polypropylene dispenser and place it over here. And then you clip this back in place starting from the top. Just making sure it clips back in place there. To reattach the flange, all we do is we make sure that it's going to seat nicely in this, the collar in that neck of the XRF. So you just stretch it, pull it, make sure it's in place. And that's that. There's your trefoil radiation warning, which is a legal requirement. There's 2 cameras on the instrument. There's one that's in here, which is the aiming camera, and there's a second camera here, which may not be activated. You have to pay a license to activate the cameras. And this button here is used when the test stand is used instead of the flange. So that button will need to be pressed in, and that's pressed in by the lid of the test stand. It's got a little column that'll just sit on that button and complete the interlock. Here's your trigger. This is where the battery goes in here, and on the underside of here there's information. If I can get it there, it's information about the instrument, including build date, serial number, instrument number, etc. This metal tag on either side is the heat sink. You have your power button here. To turn it on, just press and hold for a couple of seconds and these lights will go on. When you're turning it off, press and hold, I think it's about 4 seconds, and then on the screen it will give you the option to turn off. And under here, you can lift that and you can see that is where you connect your USB to computer. That's where you would put in your spare micro SD card, and that's the power supply if you want to run it from mains instead of with the battery. Just make sure that when you take this cover off, that you just seat it back properly so that dust and water doesn't get through. Underneath here is another flange. If I lift that off, which I'm not going to do now, but there are some connection pins. There's a larger test stand that has power to it, and when you use the XRF in the larger test stand, it communicates with the XRF through the pogo pins here. So that needs to be removed when you connect it into the larger test stand. And then of course you've got your large 5.1 inch touchscreen, color touchscreen, some buttons here in case the touchscreen needs recalibrating. So let's go ahead and turn the instrument on. So make sure your battery is fully charged, and you just make sure that it goes in all the way. So if it doesn't go in the right way, there you go, you can see it doesn't seat properly. And then to turn the instrument on, you just press and hold the power, and you can see the power light has come on there. If it's white, that means it's on, but it's not ready to test. It's in a not ready state. If it's green, it's ready. If it's orangey red and it's pulsating, it means it's emitting X-rays. And at that point, you keep your hand away from the front end. I'm going to show you now how to mount the XRF in the mobile or the portable test chamber. First thing is first, we need to remove this safety flange because we're going to be using the safety interlock button here, which is activated by that rod on the inside of the test stand. We take the base, and all we do is we fold out the handles, the arms of it, and you can see one side of it has this cradle, and that is for the handle of the XRF. So that goes down like that. The screen will cradle here. And when it's in place properly, the XRF nose should be level with your table. The next thing we do is we get these two side pieces. One of them slides in from the top. One of them slides in from the other side. And they're just a low powered magnet holding it together. So it's easy to pull them apart. And if you don't want to have to worry about that coming apart, you can just use this top plate here, which just sits in place, and then you can see you can't take it apart. And then finally, when you use this lid, that rod there needs to be in place here. And so when I place the lid down, it will only allow one position for the lid to be in that completes that safety interlock. And that's where that rod is. What you're seeing is the user interface of the XRF. You can also project the user interface to your computer. You use the USB to USB-C cable, connect it to your computer and the XRF. And when the XRF is in the login screen, then you launch a program called Screen Copy, and that is SCRCPY.exe. It comes in that little silver flash drive that is supplied with the XRF, but you can also download it for free from the internet. When you've turned on the XRF and it's in this screen, then you just need to input your username and password. The default is lowercase admin, and the password is the same, admin. It will log into the XRF and it takes you to the ready to test screen. Now, as you can see here, it says it's unable to start a measurement, and that's simply because it's expecting the rubber gasket to be in place. I have removed the rubber gasket and have mounted it in the portable test chamber. So to change the settings so that it doesn't require the gasket and it's happy with the test stand lid, we go to the main menu, which is the bottom right, settings, and we scroll down to safety, and I tell it that I'm using the sample sensor. The home key takes me back ready to test, and it's ready to go. If I lift the lid of the XRF, it's saying that it's not ready as well. So just to walk through on the screen that we have here, starting at the bottom left is we have the iCal, which is the calibration of the instrument. When it's got the little exclamation mark, it's recommending or it's requiring the iCal, and we just click on that icon. It's not required, it's just recommended. If it is required, it will give you a red exclamation mark, and to run the iCal, you simply press Run iCal. It'll ask you to tap the trigger of the XRF and place the XRF down on the iCal plate, or you can just leave it in the test stand. I'm going to cancel that now, but essentially the iCal is it's a hardware check on the instrument, and you should probably do this maybe once a week. Your camera icon down the bottom will allow you to see the camera image, the aiming camera. So it's not going to show it now because I'm connected to the computer, but in order to see it, you need to be not connected to the computer here. The little clock symbol with the circular arrow is to see your most recent tests, and you can order them by date or by week. And those two lines on the bottom right is the main menu. This cog here has some settings on the display, and if you have it in compact, that means you get lots of elements displaying in the one screen. Simple is less condensed. You can change the text size, and you can change what is included in the results. In between the red method tab and the blue sample input tab is another options screen here for display. And this is really if we're toggling between alloys identification, where it's looking for grade identification, or geochem, which is concentration. So we just leave it on concentrations. And of course, you can activate your averaging function here too. If I go to the method, it's got a summary on the method. It's saying it's a 30 seconds test time. That's the filter that it's using, and it's a 5mm spot size. And we can customize it further by clicking on the little side arrow. Here's where we change our beam times. Click on the 30 seconds there, and you can see it's set to 30 seconds total runtime, made up of 20 seconds in beam 1, 10 in beam 2. Now we can change, if you want to keep that 2:1 ratio, you can just click on any of those presets at the top, or if you want to set it to 10 seconds per beam, you can click on the actual measurement time here, and total runtime is now set to 10 seconds per beam, total duration of 20 seconds. Is using a 1 sigma confidence, and there are some options that we're going to go through now on setting up the analysis. So first of all is the sample fields, sample ID fields. So there's templates that we can create, and we've selected one here. The output profile is how we display the results, including things like compounds, percent or ppm, order of elements, and then finally how we export the results. So let's go through those, how to set those three up now. So we go to the main menu, we go to settings, and let's create a sample input template. So these are the sample ID fields. You'll have a default sample template here, and you can edit that. You can create a new one. So I'll just create a new one. I'm going to call it test. We add it. So there's test here. We can delete ones that we don't want, copy them, rename them, or we can go in and we can edit the test template here. So at the moment, there's no custom fields, sample custom fields available. So we can add one. And like most XRFs, there are lots of options. So first of all, it might be something like sample ID. It could be a simple text. We can apply that. The next one might be a depth from. That one might be a number. Apply that. Now, if you want to create an auto increment number here, we can click on that again, and we can toggle this feature here for auto increment, and that will allow you to set the interval as well. You might also wish to create a fixed list field. Let's say, for example, whether you're using a CRM, and that will be an option. And we input the options here separated by a comma. So maybe you're not analyzing a CRM, you're analyzing the blank, or you're analyzing the Aureus 298, for example. So once you're happy with the sample ID fields, we can go back again. In fact, we can go to the home page, and now we can go into the method, click on the little side arrow, and let's use the new test sample ID field template that we've created. And to adjust the sample ID, before you press play on the instrument or tap the trigger, you would simply go into the sample input here, and you would fill in what it is that you want to label. Now, none of these fields will display on the screen. If you want any of those fields to display on the screen, you can go back into that template and you can click on the field and say, I want that to be included in the sample name. So when you are taking the reading, it will show you that field at the top of the screen. And if it's got a little, that means it's got a little tag next to it. So we apply that. And now if you have a look, when I click on the sample input, there's that little tag there. And let's put a sample in place and press play. And once it starts displaying the readings, you'll see that there'll be the little label that we've created. So that one's called test. Now these elements are displaying in atomic number order. Let's go and play around with the output profile. So main menu, settings, and we'll go to output profiles. So there's a whole pile of pre-selected output profiles. You can go in and you can either create one yourself or you can edit one of the existing ones. So let's just create one. Again, we'll call it something like test. And we go in and edit it. And these are all the elements that are going to be displaying. And if we click in there, you can see they're all set to %. You can individually change them. Change the units one at a time. Or you can add elements that are not displaying, including compounds. Or we can go in here and we can say change all the units, change them all to ppm. Now obviously there's some elements here that are displayed. It's just pulled them straight from the periodic table that the XRF is not going to be measuring. So we can simply go to those ones and remove them from the list. When we delete this, when we click on the trash can icon, it's not actually deleting the element, it's just removing it from the display. And they're all set to ppm. And this little cog, settings cog here will allow you to sort. So you might sort by concentration, for example. So when you have finished editing, you can go back to home and go back into your red Geochem tab, click on the side arrow, and down the bottom change the output profile to the one that you've just created. Now, by the way, when we're in this profile, we can also make method corrections. So this is the y equals mx plus b linear corrections that you make element to element. That can be done in here. Now the way the XRF exports the data, it exports it as we're analyzing. So we need to set up the export files from the outset. When we go to settings and we go to results handlers, our recommendation is to use the XML export. So that's simply just an XML export here, and then you would label it. Don't use the Excel export field. We will provide you with an app that will compile the individual XML exports into one Excel spreadsheet. There have been some issues with the Excel export. I believe they're going to be fixed in the upcoming software update, but up till now they're not. And I will show you what we do with those results shortly. There are some additional functions that you can change. GPS, toggle that. You can go to the Android settings and change the date and time, connect via Wi-Fi to a local Wi-Fi network. So to analyze, all I would do is, in this case, this is an Aureus 509 that I'm going to analyze. I would label it before I take the reading. Aureus 509. Depth from, leave that as is, and it's not a CRM. And we just tap the trigger. Just a note about why it's taking a few extra seconds before it starts to display the results. The Spectro is using a multi-elemental peak analysis method, which means it's looking at not just one spectral peak per element, but multiple peaks. That helps to reduce interferences, but the consequence of that is there's a little bit extra thinking time involved. Finally, when you have finished analyzing and you want to pull the results from the XRF, all we need to do is ensure that it's turned on, connected to your computer via the USB cable. And when you go to this PC on your File Explorer, you'll be able to see the Android application here. And we can double click it, go through to the documents, and you'll see these HTML files. They're called XML files. So that I've got 4 of them here, and these are the individual readings that you have created from your results handler. So all we need to do is we need to take them and we need to open up the Portable Scientific Spectro XML Combiner app, which you can open in your browser. We supply that, and you just click and drag. Oh, sorry, you first of all need to copy them off the XRF where they are protected, put them somewhere else, and then we can drag them across to the combiner, give it an export file name, have the element order the way that you wish, and then combine and export. And here are the 3 results that we have created with all the elemental data.